All right, so today we're going to dive into the story of one of modern photography's most beloved and debated cameras, the Fujifilm X-T series. And look, this is a story that goes way beyond just tech specs and design. We're going to be digging into what a really passionate community has been searching for, something, a lot more intangible, something you might even call its soul. So let's just get right to it. This is the big question we're tackling today. Over its whole evolution, has Fujifilm's most iconic camera series kind of lost the very magic that made everyone fall in love with it in the first place? It's a huge question, for sure. And believe me, the answer is way more complicated than you'd think.
Okay, so to even try to answer that question, we first have to get on the same page about what we're even talking about. We got to define the legend, right? So, what exactly is this Fuji Mojo that you hear photographers talking about all the time?
You see, this whole Mojo thing, it isn't really about megapixels or tech specs. Not at all. It's about a feeling. It's about having those physical dials for your shutter speed, your ISO, your exposure comp, right there at your fingertips. It's about those absolutely stunning, almost film-like colors you get straight out of the camera. But really, the most important part? It's a whole philosophy. That a camera should be a joyful tool that makes you want to go out and shoot, not some complicated computer that just gets in your way.
And man, this journey has had some seriously incredible highs and some really controversial turns. It all kicked off with the X-T1 back in 2014. That's the camera that basically defined the whole series. Then the X-T2 came along and refined the formula. The X-T3, a lot of people see that one as the absolute peak. And then came the X-T4, which was a huge source of controversy, followed by the X-T5, which many people saw as Fujifilm trying to correct the course. Now, this whole idea of Mojo, it really solidified around two cameras in particular. I mean, these are the models that are right at the heart of the whole debate. They're the ones that created this almost cult-like following and pretty much set the standard for what an X-T camera should even be. So on one hand, you've got the X-T1. Look, people love this camera for purely emotional reasons. It was the camera that made photographers feel connected to the whole process of taking a picture again. Yeah, its 16-megapixel sensor wasn't the highest resolution, but wow, the images it produced had this special warmth, this amazing character. Then, on the other hand, you have the X-T3, what a lot of people call the Goldilocks camera. This thing was incredibly powerful, super fast, great for video, pro-level autofocus, but it was all packed into that classic, compact, dial-heavy body. It was just the perfect balance of modern power and that old-school analog soul. So you can see how this deep love for the X-T1's purity and the X-T3's perfect balance, well, it totally set the stage for a huge conflict inside the community. You could feel it. An identity crisis was brewing. And it all came back to that one core idea, Mojo. And a huge part of this whole debate really just comes down to color. As the sensors evolved, the actual look of the images, it changed. The X-T1 sensor was famous for these warm, almost golden tones. The X-T3's was technically more accurate, but some people started calling it cooler or even clinical. And the newest X-T5 sensor, well, it gets a lot of praise for its precise, poppy colors, but they feel really clean, very digital. So this shift from what felt magical to what is technically accurate is a massive piece of this puzzle. And then the whole debate just exploded with the X-T4. Okay, so to add in-body image stabilization, IBIS, the body got bigger, and they replaced that photographer-friendly tilting screen with a side-flipping vlogger screen. For so many of the purists, it just felt like Fujifilm was chasing trends, trying to be more like Sony or Panasonic. It felt like they were sacrificing their unique photographer-first identity just to become another generic hybrid camera. I mean, listen to this quote from a longtime user. It just perfectly captures the feeling in the community. The thing is, the frustration wasn't about performance. The X-T4 was a great camera, technically. The frustration was about philosophy. It just felt like such a departure from the core values that made the whole X-T series so special to begin with. But hey, the story doesn't just end there on a sour note. Fujifilm was clearly listening to all of this. And that brings us to the most recent chapter in this saga, the attempt to recapture the soul of the series. So, in 2022, Fujifilm drops the X-T5, and honestly, it felt like a direct answer to the community. They brought back the beloved three-way tilting screen. They made the body smaller and lighter than the X-T4. I mean, it was such a clear signal. The photographer-first philosophy was back, and they were doing it while also pushing the tech forward with a brand new 40-megapixel sensor. You could feel it. The Mojo was coming back. So, what's next?
I mean, that's the big question, right? The community and all the experts are already looking ahead to the XT6, and the wish list is this fascinating mix of the old and the new. Of course, people want cutting-edge tech, like AI-powered autofocus and a next-gen sensor. But just look at number 3, keep the soul. It's a straight-up demand to hang on to that core identity. And, I gotta say, my personal favorite is number 7, a vintage sensor mode. Can you imagine? A feature to electronically bring back the unique character of the classic XT1. That's basically a plea for technology to serve nostalgia, which is just so cool.
So this is really what it all boils down to. The whole future of the XT series kind of hangs on a single decision. Is the next model, the XT6, going to double down on that purist photographer-focused spirit of the XT5? Or is it going to try, once again, to be the ultimate do-everything hybrid camera and risk sacrificing the very soul that made it so special in the first place? That's the question that Fujifilm and its incredibly passionate community will have to answer next.